I like these answers. Good job. So, what is something that every government has? You guys gave me a lot of good answers. I like this a lot. Thing that everyone has is some sort of leader. That's true most of the time. That's true. Powers to collect tax. I like that. We're going to talk about that later. Laws and a leader. Taxes, leader, laws and a leader, power. Ooh, power, that's a good answer. Opinions and ideas on how the government should work. I like this one a lot. Power to create laws, the power to enforce, administrate, and execute laws. A rule of law, laws and non-chaos. Good job, you guys did a good job. That's exactly what I wanted you to get out of that. So something that every government has is some type of set of laws. And that looks a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's, we're gonna write these things down and these are the things that we all need to follow. And sometimes it's, you do something wrong and you'll find out about it. And then we do have people to enforce, administrate, and execute laws. That's important too. But at the very beginning of our country, in kind of the time that you guys are talking about right now, we didn't have that. And so we wrote something called the Articles of Confederation. And you guys are saying, I've never heard of the Articles of Confederation. Maybe you have in history class, but you haven't heard about them because we don't use them anymore. What do we use instead? Does anyone know?
Constitution.
The Constitution, exactly. So today we're going to learn about why we don't use the Articles of Confederation anymore. That's what kind of we're going to be focusing on today. So what we're doing now is the Articles. We're going to read the Articles of Confederation, and I think are they on their
They should
Google
be
Classroom?
on Google Classroom.
So there's 4 different sections. I split it up into 4 sections. I didn't give you the real Articles of Confederation. They are the real ones, but they're broken down so you can explain and understand each one. Because the real ones are annoying and really hard to understand, and I had to read them once, the real versions, and it's fun. But, so you guys have the real Articles of Confederation, but someone went through and said, okay, how can we write this so that anyone of any age can understand these? So there are 4 sets of tables, and there's 4 groups. So you guys are group 1, you guys are group 2, you guys are group 3, and you guys are group 4. And what you need to do is go on Google Classroom, find the Articles of Confederation. It should be just like a little, it's a PDF. So read your page of the Articles of Confederation, see there right here, and it says group 2, group 1, group 3, group 4. Don't pay attention to the highlighting yet. When you see it, you can kind of say, okay, why did she highlight this? But don't worry about it yet. But read yours, and then once you're done reading, you can maybe chat with the person next to you and say, what did you think of that? But read them to understand them, because you want to know kind of what's going on. They're pretty, if you struggle, you can raise your hand and I'll come over and say, yeah, that's a little weird, I'll explain to you. So, group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. Any questions? No? Read. Okay, is everybody ready? We're ready? Wonderful. So, first question is, you guys all generally know what's going on, right? There's some interesting things in there. I think my favorite one, I don't know what group read it, is Canada can become a state if they want to. Did you see that one? That one's funny. But here's the thing. Some of these are very interesting, and we're going to talk about them more. But does anyone know, did anyone think about why some of them might be highlighted? Yes.
Because, maybe, they're important facts that happen.
Mm-hmm. They are important things. They're important to know. Does anyone else have an idea of why maybe I highlighted some of those? Yes. Okay, so they have something in common. Yes, they do have something in common.
One of them is back in today.
Mm-hmm. So maybe they might be used today. Yes. Anyone else?
They changed it this time. The time right now.
So, so they changed it so it's something that's not there anymore. That one's you're getting very close. Yes. Do you have an idea or no? You're just moving. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what Duke said, like maybe it's what was done, maybe like that's what happened like back then, but like over time people changed it to make it like a more official and beneficial.
Exactly. Good job. You guys all helped each other get there. These are things that were changed by the Constitution, but also reasons, the things I highlighted throughout are the main reasons that the Articles of Confederation failed. Okay? So the little articles that I highlighted are the ones that they had the most problems with. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go back and just look at those highlighted ones, and you're going to talk in your group, and you're going to say, why would this maybe be a problem? And one person in your group needs to take notes on what you say, because one person is then going to share with the rest of us and say, these are the reasons I think that the articles that got highlighted would be problems later on, and why maybe the Articles of Confederation didn't work so well. Okay? So I'm going to give you 5 minutes for that. So talk together. You should, I think the most that people have is 3 maybe. Does anyone have 3 highlighted ones? You'll see. You should be able to talk about 2 of them. So one person is taking notes so you can remember what you talked about. And you're all talking together and saying, okay, why would this be a problem? Why would this be an issue? Any questions? Are we good? Okay, go. You guys know what Twix bars are, right? Okay. How many people eat the right side first, and how many people eat the left side first? Okay. Raise your hand if you eat the left side of your Twix bar first. Raise your hand if you eat the right side of your Twix bar first. Do people know? Do you not?
I don't eat chocolate.
You don't care? You don't eat chocolate? Okay. This should be decide. It doesn't have to have anything to do with Twix bars you've eaten in the past. For right now, decide which side of a Twix bar you'd eat. I'm giving you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay. So now, raise your hand if you eat the left side of the Twix bar first.
I ate the right one. The right one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Left. This is my right hand for you guys. 10. Raise them high so I can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, raise your hand if you eat the right side of the Twix first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There have to be. Is it really just 12 and 11? How many are in
We
here?
got 8. There should be
I'll maybe 20.
30.
So then,
Who's not voting?
who's not voting? Maybe I counted wrong. Maybe I counted wrong. It doesn't matter. The thing is, how hard is it to get a 70% of the 30? Is it 30? How many people are in here?
29.
Of the 29 people believing one thing. How hard is that? Was it easy to get an answer? No, it really wasn't. There was no consensus. And even when there was, you guys split about in half. So the point of that is, it's really hard to get 70%. We're going to come back to that. We're going to start, yes.
There doesn't have to be a consensus. We were just doing the vote.
You're right. But we didn't get 70% because it's really difficult to get 70% of a large group of people or even a small group of people to believe the same thing. So now we're going to look at the highlighted portions. Group 1, can you please share what you found out? Why do you think that those things that are highlighted are a problem? So everyone can scroll up to group 1 and look at the their two, I think you have 2, do you have 2?
Yeah.
2 highlighted bullet points, okay? So you can look at them. Go.
So,
Mhm.
One of the highlighted parts says each state shall have one vote in the United States Congress.
Mhm.
And we thought that wasn't right because most states only look after themselves.
Mhm.
And they really only look for what benefited them.
Exactly.
And the other one was each state will have 2 to 7 lawmakers in Congress, and no person can be a member for more than 3 years out of 6 years. So there's there's only like 2 to 7 lawmakers for the people to make laws for the 13 states, right? But they could only serve for 3 years,
Mhm.
3 to 6 years. So they won't have much experience
Mhm.
from like just those 3 years. And there's every 3 years or to 6 years, there's always a new candidate
Yeah.
making the law. So like each and every person has a different opinion on what the laws should be,
Mhm.
and like there'll be new perspectives from each and every person.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Good job. Anyone else from Group 1 have anything to share about those two? No? Ready? Group 2. So now scroll down to Group 2's highlighted sections so you can look at them while they're reading. Group 2, do you have someone to talk?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, so the first one kind of explains that like the states have to can't make any treaties or can't go to war without the Congress
Mhm.
consent, and they can have their own army.
Mhm.
And we said that the states are kind of like their own country kind of thing because they have their own army and
Yeah.
they can have their own kind of war thing. But
Mhm.
and also the government can decide if they want the states to go to war or not. But sometimes say if an enemy is coming to that state and the Congress doesn't want them to go into war, they can't really defend themselves.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes.
I also think that doesn't y'all basically say that they don't want the states to get too powerful?
Yeah, it's very true. That's one of the struggles is, central government or state government. And there's not really much that they say about their central government. I mean, they're trying to create one with the Articles of Confederation. They're trying to say, yes, we're going to have a very strong government that's in charge of all of the states. But they just said in the Articles of Confederation, the states can do what they want. The states can have an army. The states can. So it's an interesting little contrast. Group 3, are you ready? Ready? So now we're looking at Group 3's. Someone ready to talk?
Okay, so Congress, Congress shall set the value of coins. So that's not right because they could say that a penny is worth $100.
Mm-hmm. Inflation.
Yeah, and then they could right after they buy something, they could change it back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good reason. Mm-hmm.
And then for the union shall never end, it pretty much says that without the Congress and the other states' consent,
Mhm.
the state cannot leave the union.
Right. Which, I mean, we don't want them to leave the union, but we just gave them all this power, so this kind of contradicts that. You're exactly right. Group 4.
So, one of the things that are highlighted says Congress must have votes of 9 states.
Mhm.
If any of these powers, are we talking about if many of the states with
Mm-hmm.
are a Congress for the states kind of when
Mm-hmm.
sorts, and so 9 of the 13 states must first agree on it for the committee to meet, which kind of doesn't make sense because if exactly 9 out of the 13 agree to meet, so that's 4 states that are left out of the committee.
Yeah. This goes back to what we were talking about with the Twix bars. What happens if you have to get 70% of the people there to agree? Is that an easy thing to do, or is that a difficult thing to do? Yes. Why? Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody thinks the same way and stuff like that.
Exactly. Everyone has different preferences. If you live in Massachusetts, which we're going to see later, you want and need different things than if you live in Texas. In Texas, it's dry, it's hot, you might not be a farmer. In Massachusetts, they're right on the water, they need to be paying attention to, okay, what happens if a storm comes? They need to be prepared for different things. So where you live changes the rules that you need and the things that those people that they're gonna send to Congress are gonna request. So if there's a big problem in Virginia, But that problem doesn't really exist in North Carolina. The people who are coming from Virginia and the people who are coming from North Carolina are gonna want different things. And that's really a problem if you need 70% of the 13 people to agree. So, now that we kind of have this, we're gonna go to the graphic, it's not really a graphic organizer, but it has two, is that on Google Classroom too?
This one, right, Fix It or Shays Rebellion?
The articles, that one,
Okay.
yes. So you're gonna go to this, that
Should-
one's for later.
Should say Shays Rebellion.
Yes. And this is what we just talked about. But now, since you guys have all shared, we're gonna fill these in together. So pull this up, they can write on it, right?
Yep.
Wonderful. Will it be theirs or will it all show up?
They have to make a copy, so guys, make sure you make a copy, go file, make a copy. And if you're not able to type in it, which it looks like you are, you can always make a text box.
Wonderful. So make a copy, thank you. And then we're gonna quickly, we're gonna write down what we just talked about. So you have it written so you can remember it too. And this way, if while one of the groups was talking but you weren't in that group but you noticed something, you can say, oh hey, that happened there too. And that would affect one of my rules. Does everyone have a copy? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to type. We're almost there, okay. Okay, so states all got equal representation. I put that in quotations for a reason. And could decide how many people up to 7 they wanted to send to Congress. This was a group 1 question and article, correct? You guys talked about that? Why does this matter? Why is this a problem? Anyone, you don't have to be from group 1. We just talked about it. Why is this an issue? If you can send up to 7 people from any state. Yes.
Like I said earlier, a lot of people have like different ways to like rule and stuff. Like, if they don't agree on it, it can turn into totally chaos.
Exactly. So what are we writing down based on what she just said? Can someone summarize it quickly? Yes.
Each state has different preferences and what they want in the government.
Each state, beautiful. Each state has different preferences. Thank you. Okay. 1 vote per state. This is one of my favorites because I think it's really funny. Someone have an idea? Yes.
There are a lot of people in each state, so just having one person to vote for them.
Mhm.
Each state has a bunch of people
Mhm.
who have different opinions on what they need. So the person who's voting for them also has to find out how, like, if they're going to vote yes or no for that type of problem in the situation.
Yes.
I want to be really equal and fair to other people.
Right? You're right. Yes.
This is what I would say. Not everybody in the state would have to share their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So that way not everybody can say what they feel about what they're voting for.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You would also get a more accurate, like answer if you had more than just 13 people
Mhm.
voting for a law.
You're right.
Other people need different opinions
Mm-hmm.
because people need to agree on them. So if there's only one vote, then it doesn't really make any sense.
Exactly.
There needs to be different kinds of votes.
Yes. Yes. So how are we going to summarize that? Maybe population varies greatly state to state. So let's say Virginia has, they don't have 5,000 people, but let's say Virginia has 5,000 people, Massachusetts has 1,000. Should 5,000 people only get 1 vote if there's more of them? Probably not. So population varies. It's not fair for the populations with bigger states to just have 1 vote and the smaller states to have the same amount of power if there's more people in Virginia than there are in Massachusetts. I think that was our main And it's not fair. That's, you guys said it's not fair a lot too. 1 year terms, you guys have the 3 to 6 alternating, that's what it originally said. But really what it meant was their terms were really short. So why is this a problem? If you know that only one person is gonna be doing a job for 1 year, let's say your boss comes to you and says, hey, you know, you can do this job for a year, but I'm gonna fire you afterwards. How do you act differently, maybe, than if your boss says, you can work for as long as you want? Yes.
Or you probably wouldn't take the job for 1 year.
You might not take the job, okay? Yes.
You might not take it serious.
You might not take it seriously. Is it important that the people who are making the laws take their job seriously? Mm-hmm. Because we don't want silly laws. So that's one of the big problems. Anybody else have any ideas on why this is important? Why this matters, that this is different than what it is right now? Yes,
A person wouldn't have much experience if they only just had a 1 year.
you're right. Experience is important. That's a good thing. Okay, are we ready? This is our favorite one, right? The Twix bars. That's what I'm gonna call it from now on. 70% or 9 out of 13 members had to agree. Why is that important? Why is that a problem? We just talked about it. Yes.
Because not everyone can have the same opinion in Congress, so, if everyone doesn't have the same opinion, if it's only 70%, whatever law they voted on might not pass the 70%.
So it's difficult to make decisions. That makes it really hard to change a law. And later on, we read the one, I think Group 4 had it, but it said Congress can change the Articles of Confederation, right? So Congress is that 9 out of 13. Well, what if 7 people want to change something in the Articles and the other half don't? Then they can't change it. So essentially, they put themselves in this rule that they couldn't change, and so they stopped themselves from being able to make better laws by making the 9 out of 13 decision choice, okay? Congress can't impose taxes. Why would that be a problem? Anyone else? Yes.
Okay, so if they can't do that, it could leave them in debt.
It could, exactly. Wonderful. Great answer. Anyone else? Yes.
Well, if they were in debt from the war, then if they don't have taxes, they can't pay off their debt to the public.
Exactly. So they might be in debt because they don't have any money coming from the people to help them pay for things. And then once they're in debt, they have no way to pay it back. So you just sink deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. Wonderful. Great job. That was really good. States can make their own laws without regard to the states around them. What happens if you decide that you're going to spray your perfume or cologne every 30 minutes? Mm-hmm. You'll get a headache first. What about the people around you? Do they have a choice in how much you spray your perfume or your cologne? No. So how are they going to feel about you? Are they going to like you? They're going to say, oh, I want to sit next to her next time. I wouldn't. Cologne gives me a headache too. So what happens once Congress says, oh, states, you can do what you want. You can make the rules that you want. What happens? It's just like sitting next to someone who sprays their perfume too often. Mm-hmm.
Well, things can go out of hand. People might not agree with certain rules.
Mm-hmm. So people start to say, oh, that means state Virginia, they made a rule. That means that people who steal fish from each other can come into our state and they're not allowed to live in Virginia. And now we have people who steal in our state, okay? So states start to not really appreciate each other. And it also means that once they give this permission to the states, the central government, so the guys who are making these rules, who are the government, cannot say, oh no, states, you can't make that rule, because they just said they could. Does that make sense? Yes? Anything else for this one? Anything else? Okay. Are we all kind of done, almost done typing? Give you another minute. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to this next slide. This slide is not what we've talked about already. This is about two things that are prominently missing from the Articles of Confederation. One of them is there are no rights given to the people, and the second one is there's no court system. Why is it important? First part, why is it important to give rights to the people? Second part, why is it important to have a court system? This half, you guys are talking about rights to the people. This half, you guys are talking about court system. Fast. 30 seconds. Why is it important that we have a court system? Why is it important that the people have rights? Does everyone have at least one reason? You have at least one reason in your mind? At least one? So I should see more than 3 hands going up because we all just talked about it. Ready? At least one. Yes.
Okay, so I said for the court system,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really fair because when I read about like amendments and stuff, when the British was on the rule and stuff, like ruling, their court system wasn't fair either. So like that's something that the colonists didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something that they didn't like people like the government, they should like try to make something that's fair
Mm-hmm.
and something that would actually help the people. And like if they don't have a court system, you can't like figure out cases and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. Can someone summarize what she said and then add your own thoughts? So summarize quickly what she said and then add what you think. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if there's no court system, then you can't prove if somebody's like guilty, and if they're innocent, then there's no way of knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would be going to like jail for nothing.
So it's not fair. And you had it. It's not fair. Yeah.
It's not fair because like if somebody was innocent,
Mm-hmm.
they'd be like away from like the people they love and everything, and they'd be in jail for nothing, for like no reason at all.
Yeah. And there's no proof. Yes.
Also, if there's no court system, people can like go around doing whatever they want.
Exactly, because if you don't get caught, nothing's gonna happen to you, right? Good job. So it's not fair, and it gives more freedom, could you say? It gives more freedom to people who want to break the law. Those two things, those are two important things you should have for no court system. No rights of the people. Yes. Yes, you.
The people, if they have no rights, I think they start turning against themselves, like going against the government, because they want their own, like, they want a say in something.
Mhm.
And when they're not given it, they'll like riot or something like that, because they want their rights. So.
Yes, exactly. So people want their rights, and if they don't have them, then they start to get into more conflict with each other, okay? So I would say, no rights causes conflict. Anyone have anything to add? Why it's important to have your rights? Why is it important to be able to have the rights that you have? Yes.
Because if we didn't have any rights, what kind of like what Kyler said, but also like if we didn't have any rights, people would just break the law and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not okay to break the law because it's hurting our society.
Exactly. So when you have rights, when you don't have rights, you have more cause to break the law, and then you hurt the people around you. Mm-hmm.
Also, if you don't have rights, you can like choose your own religion.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You couldn't choose your own religion. You couldn't, if you had no rights, then they could say you have to eat this on this day, or you're not allowed to wear blue on Sunday, or something silly like that. And you wouldn't be able to say no because they didn't give any rights. Yes.
Because Great Britain gave the colonists little rights when they were colonized, not giving the people rights as one state, but it's basically just doing what Great Britain did.
Ooh, yes, that's very important. Mm-hmm. So not only is this unfair and doesn't give them any freedom, but it also repeats something that they just saw and they just fought a war over. What was the war that came before this? The Revolutionary War, yes. And why did they fight that war? Yes.
It's because like the colonists, they didn't like how they were being ruled and they had no freedom.
Exactly. So since they had no freedom then, you would think that once they're writing these new rules, they would include something to give the people the freedom that they just fought a war over. But they didn't, which is why they need to change this. Now, the next thing we're gonna do, everyone kind of done filling this in? We ready? Okay. The next thing we're gonna do is we're talking about one situation where the Articles of Confederation were proved to not be effective, okay? And that situation is Shays Rebellion. There should be an article, it's on Google Classroom too, right?
Yes.
There's an article called Shays Rebellion from Newsy LA. I love this website. There's a fun picture here. But we're going to read this as a group, and it's gonna be so fun. Whose birthday is in January?
X.
February. You're reading first. And once you read, you can popcorn to the next person. But before that, does everyone have a sheet of loose leaf paper?
No, yes. We have our notebooks.
We have like notebooks.
Yeah,
like,
no books. Really?
Okay,
binders.
can you rip paper out of them or not?
Yeah, we can.
No?
I
Okay,
can.
it's fine if you can't. It's fine if you can't. But open your notebook, and you're not gonna take written notes while we're reading this. Instead, while the person who is reading, you're going to draw a little picture that represents what they read, okay? Don't make it super elaborate. It's not supposed to take a lot of time. Here's some paper too. If you want something that can come out of your notebook. It's not supposed to take a lot of time. You should be done with your little picture by the time it gets to the next person. You should be done with your, yes. You just read one little section, yes. And then you're gonna, so remember, these aren't supposed to be, these aren't supposed to be super elaborate pictures. I'm talking like tiny little pictures. It doesn't have to be 4 things in a picture. Let's say they're talking about money, you draw a little dollar sign. But it should be something that reminds you of that sentence or sentences that the person read. She's gonna start, and when she's done, she's gonna say someone else's name, and then it is that person's turn to read. I don't think everyone will have to read. I don't think we have that many paragraphs, so hopefully your friends like you. But draw your little pictures, right? And you should be done by the time she's done reading. So you need to be paying attention because you should have a little picture for every little paragraph. Can you just scroll that? Of course. So I can see it. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. So she's gonna read this much, the next person's gonna read this much, that much, and so on and so forth, okay? As your worksheet's gonna tell you, I gave you some wonderful creative names: Blueberry, Basketballville, Bandland, and Boringtown. And you get to pick your nation, and it comes along with a silly law and a problem that is caused by that law. What you have to do is you pick one, you write down the law, you write down the problem, and then you give some explanation of how that law should be changed to fix the problem. So we talked about the Articles of Confederation and all the problems that came along with it today, and how Shays Rebellion was caused by it. So imagine your problem is kind of like Shays Rebellion. This is something that's affecting the people who live there because of this law that's not right. So what you have to do is say, well, instead of this, I think the law should be this. And it has to solve the problem, and it also has to be fair, okay? So you can't say this, so in Blueberry, people who sell paint can charge extra because paint smells and could bother the people who buy the painters, okay? That's kind of silly, but it's my made-up law. The problem is artists can't paint pictures because they can't afford the paint. And it's important that they be able to paint pictures so that they can remember how the wonderful landscape around them looks. It's kind of silly, but it's a problem for these people. How would you change this law to fix this. You can't say, I would make the paint super cheap, because that doesn't fix the smell problem. So how would you change this law to fix this? Okay? If you need help, you can talk to a neighbor or raise your hand and I will help you. Does everyone have the worksheet pulled up? So you can see it. So pick one of these 4, which has a law and a problem, and adjust your law so that the problem is solved. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Those you can put with your stuff that goes with history stuff. Yeah, that's just for you to be able to keep in your mind what happened during Shays' Rebellion in a more entertaining way than writing it down. Okay? Are we good? Go. Okay, so I think everybody has one of these. Today, as part of your journal, we're gonna read this first. So you're gonna read this, take you a few minutes. I think it's really interesting that it says 6-minute read. So it kind of tells you, oh, 6-minute read. It might take you 6 minutes, it might take you 3 minutes, it might take you longer than that. Don't worry, read it, and then I have a question for you. I think most people are done reading the article. If you're not done, that's okay. So your journal prompt based off of this, so think about this, think about yourself, think about your reading habits, is what is more relaxing to you? Reading a book or watching TV, and why? And then do you think this might change over time? So do you think when you're 50, you'll like reading books better? Or do you think you're always gonna love TV? And then, what's more relaxing to you now? Reading a book, not like a school book, something that you picked, something that you enjoy and find interesting, or watching TV? And why? And then we're gonna chat about it. And
Just like why you like one better than the other.
which one is more relaxing? Not why you like one better, but which one is more relaxing? I think everybody's done writing. If you're still writing, you can keep writing. I'm gonna do a quick arm poll. Who said reading? Raise your hand if you said reading is more relaxing. Reading, okay, and TV? TV? Okay, so I think that's a pretty even split. Would you say? I think it was pretty even. Interesting, very interesting. Is anyone willing to share why they said either one, reading or TV? Yes.
Kind of what they said in the article. Like yesterday, I didn't realize that we had a full hour in here yesterday instead of a half an hour. Just read the whole time. I think it's easier to lose track of time when you're reading than when you're watching a show, because an episode ends and you're like, okay, finish like an hour or 3 minutes, or like half an hour.
Yeah, it's definitely true. When you finish an episode, you're like, oh wow, 30 minutes is gone. But if you're reading, you can just keep reading. You don't really stop as much. Interesting. Does anyone have something for TV? Want to share why TV is better? Or why it's more relaxing to you?
I feel like you just kind of like zone out if you want to, and you don't have to like be fully paying attention to it.
Yeah, they said that in here. They talked about how TV is much more passive. You just kind of sit down and watch it unfold. That's definitely relaxing. Yeah, they have something to do with each other, that's for sure. Anybody else want to share why they like one better than the other?
TV doesn't really require any skill.
It's true. Anyone can watch TV. The tiniest people and the oldest people love TV. Yeah, that's very true. Interesting. You guys have some interesting opinions. Did anyone think that their opinion might change over time? Or do you all think you're gonna like what you like now forever?
Maybe it might change because I originally said TV, but it could possibly change more like during reading. Because like I made the connection with my grandparents because since they're retired, they have like a lot of free time. They read more than I do.
It's true. Reading takes some dedicated time, and a lot of times when you're younger, you don't have that much time. Anybody else? I think it's interesting because I think about the technology change that happened from my grandparents' perspective, from when I was born to when they were kind of my age. And so if that keeps happening, if technology keeps advancing, by the time I turn 60 and you guys turn, 50, it might be really different. And we might just be like, I just want to read a book. Technology is so different from what it was. So that'd be an interesting thing to think about. Okay, if you have those on a piece of paper that you can bring up here, please do. I want to read all your answers. If you don't, that's fine.